When you think of Virgo, you probably picture the most organized and helpful person you know. They're the perfectionist of the Zodiac, always ready to solve a problem or offer a practical solution. We see them as the reliable friend, the meticulous colleague, the partner who remembers every single detail. But what happens when that helpfulness starts to feel less like support and more like control? What if their famous attention to detail isn't just for organizing, but for building a case? This is the surprising truth about how Virgo's quiet intensity, critical eye, and emotional precision can make them a silent but formidable force. In this video, we will explore the dark side of Virgo and understand why you should be really careful when dealing with any person born under this star sign. Prepare to see Virgo in a whole new light. Before we explore the shadows, let's start with the well-known portrait of Virgo. This Earth sign is ruled by Mercury, the planet of intellect. Virgos are celebrated for being practical, loyal, and incredibly hardworking. They are often the bedrock of our communities, the people who build the systems, refine the details, and ensure the world runs smoothly. Their intentions are almost always rooted in a genuine desire to serve and make a positive impact. They simply want to help, to fix, and to make things better. However, astrology teaches us that every sign has a shadow side, where its greatest strengths can become its most potent challenges. For Virgos, their most admired traits are the very same ones that, if left unchecked, can be perceived as challenging. This isn't about malice. It's an exploration of an astrological archetype where the line between helpfulness and control, between observation and judgment, can become blurred. The danger of a Virgo isn't the loud, explosive anger of a fire sign. It's quieter, more strategic. It's a psychological chess game played with facts, observations, and a relentless pursuit of perfection that can leave others feeling confused and completely outmaneuvered. We're looking at the astrological stereotype of a mind that is always analyzing, always cataloging, and always one step ahead. So, let's begin our countdown of the traits that make Virgos so quietly formidable. One of Virgo's most respected traits is their sharp, analytical mind and their powerful attention to detail. They remember things not just anniversaries and preferences, but the specifics of conversations and situations. The astrological stereotype suggests a more challenging application of this gift. A Virgo's mind can operate like a database of interactions, logging, conversations, and, most importantly, inconsistencies. In day-to-day life, this is a minor quirk, but in a conflict, that mental archive can become a powerful tool. While you might argue from a place of emotion or vague memory, a Virgo often comes to a disagreement armed with facts. They can recall something you said months ago that seems to contradict what you're saying now. They won't just remember you were late. They'll remember the date, the time, and the reason you gave. This isn't necessarily about winning the argument so much as it is about establishing what is factually correct. Their approach isn't to fight dirty, but to fight with accuracy. They present evidence, not just accusations, building a logical case that can feel like a cross-examination. This can leave their opponent feeling not just wrong, but entirely discredited. The challenge lies in their ability to use history with such precision that you start to question your perspective. They don't need to raise their voice when they can simply present the facts. At the very core of the Virgo archetype is a powerful drive for perfection. It's what fuels their incredible work ethic and their sharp eye for detail. On the surface, it's an admirable quality that leads to high standards and excellent results. However, the shadow side of this perfectionism can be challenging, not just for the Virgo, but for everyone around them. Their standards are often so high that it feels like nothing is ever quite good enough. This can create a constant, low-level feeling of dissatisfaction. A Virgo can spot a flaw in almost anything. They might walk into a beautiful room and be the first to notice a tiny scuff on the baseboard. They can read a brilliant report and focus on a single misplaced comma. In their mind, they aren't being negative. They're just identifying an imperfection that needs fixing. But for others, it can feel like a steady stream of criticism, fostering an environment where people feel judged. This is especially difficult in close relationships. A partner or friend of a Virgo might feel like they're under constant evaluation. Their achievements may be met not with simple praise, but with a few notes for improvement. This isn't about delivering harsh feedback, but it's a pattern that can subtly erode a person's self-esteem. The warden of this dynamic is their critical eye, which patrols for any flaw. It can make you feel like you're perpetually falling short of an unspoken ideal. One of the most complex behaviors associated with the Virgo shadow side is the way their helpfulness can sometimes feel like a form of control. Virgos genuinely want to be of service, but when their anxiety about disorder takes over, their help can turn into micromanagement. They'll offer to take over something you're doing, not just to be kind, but to make sure it gets done. Their way, the right way. It usually starts small. They might reorganize your desk for better workflow, or create a detailed budget for you because they feel they're better with numbers. At first, it all seems incredibly supportive. But before you know it, you might find yourself relying on their systems. Any attempt to do things differently is met with subtle resistance or a logical argument for why their method is superior. Slowly but surely, you might feel like your autonomy is shrinking. In a relationship, this can feel suffocating. A Virgo partner might take over all the vacation planning, not from a place of malice, but from a deep-seated belief that they can manage it more perfectly. Soon, you might feel like a passenger on your trip. At work, a Virgo colleague might help by repeatedly revising your work until it meets their standards. They frame it as taking a burden off your shoulders, but what's happening is they're taking control. The challenge here is its plausibility. If you object, you risk looking ungrateful. After all, they were just trying to help. If this look into the Virgo shadow side resonated with you, or if you've ever been on the receiving end of their famous precision, share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear your experiences. Was it their critical eye, their helpful but controlling nature, or that impressively detailed memory? And if you found this analysis insightful, please give this video a like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, because you won't want to miss our next video, where we pull another zodiac sign out of the light and into the shadows. Ruled by Mercury, the planet of intellect, Virgos are masters of logic. In a debate, they are formidable, approaching arguments with calm, detached analysis. This strength becomes a double-edged sword when it clashes with the emotions of others. When confronted with a purely emotional point of view, a Virgo may struggle to engage with the feelings themselves, instead focusing on the perceived irrationality behind them. Imagine telling a Virgo that something they did hurt you. Instead of immediately validating your pain, they might try to understand the logic of your reaction. They could say, "But that doesn't make sense, because my intention was X." Or, "If you look at the facts, your emotional response seems disproportionate." They aren't trying to be cruel. From their perspective, emotions are messy variables that can cloud the objective truth. This can feel incredibly invalidating. Your feelings aren't just overlooked. They're treated like flawed data that needs to be corrected. You came seeking an emotional connection and were met with a logical breakdown. In conflicts, this tendency allows Virgos to sidestep emotional accountability. They can cause hurt and then, when confronted, shift the focus to the illogical nature of that hurt. This emotional detachment can make them seem cold, and it can teach you over time that expressing raw emotion to them might not get the response you're looking for. As an earth sign, Virgos are known for their grounded and composed exterior. They often see big displays of emotion, especially anger, as a messy loss of control, something to be avoided. So, they tend to suppress. They compartmentalize and swallow their frustrations, maintaining a calm facade. But just because they don't show it, doesn't mean they don't feel it. This can create a pressure cooker effect. For weeks, or even months, a Virgo can seem unflappable, enduring annoyances with a quiet sigh or a tight-lipped smile. Then, one day, a seemingly minor incident will be the final straw, and that's when the pressure is released. This release is often shocking because it seems so out of character. The built-up force of countless unspoken grievances can come out in a sudden, sharp burst of criticism and anger. People around them are left stunned, wondering what caused such an intense reaction to a small trigger. The challenge here lies in its unpredictability. You don't know where their breaking point is until it's been crossed. This dynamic can make people feel like they're walking on eggshells, afraid of accidentally triggering that next release. Beneath their adaptable, mutable sign quality lies a surprising core of stubbornness. Once a Virgo has analyzed a situation and reached what they believe is the most logical conclusion, changing their mind is next to impossible. They don't see their position as just an opinion. They see it as the objective truth, arrived at through a careful process. To them, backing down would feel like a betrayal of logic itself. This inflexibility can be a major hurdle in collaborations and relationships. They may come across as dogmatic, refusing to entertain other viewpoints that don't fit into their rational framework. In a disagreement, they won't just defend their point. They'll explain, in detail, why it's the only one that makes sense. Their stubbornness is often wrapped in the authority of reason, which can make them seem intellectually arrogant. This trait becomes especially challenging when they're in the wrong. Their pride and fear of imperfection can make it incredibly difficult for them to admit a mistake. Instead of conceding, they might just double down, weaving even more complex arguments to justify their original position. It can feel less like a discussion and more like you versus an impenetrable fortress of self-assured correctness. Their refusal to bend can bring projects to a halt and create lasting friction in relationships. The Virgo mind is a powerful analytical tool, but sometimes it doesn't have an off switch. This can lead to overthinking and rumination, a trait that can be deeply stressful for the Virgos themselves. They'll replay conversations, dissect social interactions, and analyze future scenarios to the point of analysis paralysis. This constant mental churn is often fueled by a deep-seated anxiety and a fear of getting things wrong. They worry about details that others might not even notice, which can make them seem hesitant or indecisive as they get lost in a sea of what-ifs. While they may appear calm, their mind is often a whirlwind. This internal anxiety can become a challenge when it starts to affect others. A Virgo's worry can subtly shape their environment. In a partnership, they might constantly seek reassurance that everything is okay, or question their partner's decisions out of their anxiety. At work, a Virgo manager's overthinking can stifle a team's creativity, as every new idea is put through an exhausting risk assessment. Their internal state of worry can leak out, creating a tense atmosphere where every decision feels heavy with the potential for disaster. Virgos have a powerful sense of duty, which translates into an incredible work ethic. They are the colleagues who stay late to get the job done right, and the partners who manage household responsibilities without being asked. This dedication, however, has a shadow side. Their sense of self-worth can become tangled up with their productivity and acts of service. They often take on more than their fair share, driven by the belief that no one else can do it as reliably. This can lead to them feeling overwhelmed and unappreciated, fostering a quiet resentment toward those they feel aren't contributing enough. Yet, they rarely ask for help. Instead, they just work harder, and their exhaustion can become a quiet badge of honor. The real challenge here is the emotional neglect that can follow. A Virgo who is completely consumed by their duties can become emotionally distant. They might prioritize their to-do lists over quality time with loved ones, justifying it as something they have to do. Their family may feel like they come second to a job or a project. If this is pointed out, the Virgo might react with righteous indignation, framing their absence as a sacrifice they're making for the family. This creates a difficult dynamic where loved ones feel guilty for wanting more, and the Virgo feels unappreciated for all their hard work. Is the Virgo stereotype really that dangerous? The answer isn't so simple. The challenge doesn't come from aggression or a desire for power. It comes from the inversion of their greatest virtues. It's the intelligence that can feel intimidating, the helpfulness that can feel like a cage, and the perfectionism that can feel like a judgment. The astrological archetype of Virgo teaches us that their power is in their subtlety. They can outmaneuver you in an argument with facts, unintentionally undermine your confidence with criticism, and assume control of a situation before you even realize it's happening. They operate with a level of calculated coolness that other signs often can't match. But this shadow side is not a Virgo's destiny. Awareness is the key to balance. When a Virgo learns to temper their critical nature with compassion, balance logic with empathy, and accept the beauty of imperfection, they can become the most loyal, competent, and supportive ally you could ever ask for. But for those who underestimate their quiet intensity, consider this a friendly warning. Never mistake their silence for weakness. It's in that quiet space that they are at their most formidable. To discover what other secrets astrology has in store for you, click the link in the description for your free personalized reading. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Share your thoughts on this video in the comments section below. And until we meet again, may the stars guide your path to enlightenment. Thanks for watching.